But anyway, I was, I went to dinner last night. I met with Dwight Douglas for dinner. Who is Dwight Douglas? Do you know Dwight Douglas?
He's a famous radio consultant?
Yeah. Dwight, I was in Hartford radio in 19-something. When was I in Hartford, Fred?
Like late 70s.
Late 70s. And I was miserable. I was making $250 a week, and they gave me that under protest. I was kicking ass for the radio station. And the radio show was just me, basically. Fred would pop in once in a while. He was the overnight guy, and he would pop in on the show. But for the most part, it was just me, and I was the news guy, and I was the production. I had to do production after the show. I was also the public affairs director. I was doing everything. I'm making $250 a week, and I'm going nowhere fast. And in fact, like, I even had to lie to get an apartment, which really bummed me out because I don't generally lie. But
You mean lie about how much you made?
Yeah. Like, I couldn't even, like, I think it was like, I was making $12,000 a year, and I had to somehow lie and say I was making $18,000 because they wouldn't let me into a stupid, shitty apartment where the water used to overflow all the time, and the sewage would just back up. Like, I couldn't even get that apartment. And my neighbors would hang signs on my doors telling me they had a right to free speech, so they were going to hang signs on my door. It was just incredibly awful, the whole fucking situation. So one day I'm on the radio and things are going particularly badly, and I don't know what prompted it, but I just got on my knees. I was playing a long record, like Lynyrd Skynyrd or something, and I get on my knees and I start to tear up, and I'm like, God, God. I'm praying to God, the radio God. You've got to get me out of Hartford. Because 3 days earlier, I'd gone to Cy Dresner, the owner of the station, and asked him for a raise, and he said he had to think about it.
There's a raise on the 250.
On the 250 after a year of being there, and he had to think about it. He was negotiating with me. And meanwhile, I was doing so great that the radio station across the street was nervous about me. Like, that's how good I was doing. I wasn't, killing it, but I was doing pretty damn good at making it. I was in the newspaper all the time, and I was starting to make waves and inroads into the market. And he had to think about it. So I get on my knees. I wrote about this in Private Parts, and I start praying. And like that night or something, or like even that afternoon, I get a call from a guy, Dwight Douglas, who's a radio consultant for Burkhardt Abrams. Burkhardt Abrams at the time was the biggest consulting firm in the country. They had radio stations all over the country. Our competition in Hartford was a Burkhardt Abrams station. And I was so jealous because I was like, wow, they have consultants and they have people helping them, and they have a whole network of people writing bits. And I'm competing with them, and they wanted me out of the market. So Dwight called me up and offered me a job in Columbus, Ohio. He was like one of these guys who believed in me, He wanted me, he was like, wow, we want you in Columbus, Ohio. And I was like, I looked up the station. The station had a 21 share in the morning. They were huge. And I was like, wow, do I really want to go to a station that isn't a toilet bowl? I could only probably go down. But, I was thinking, the fuck? Well, anyway, I didn't get the job in Columbus because the morning show decided to stay. They were just negotiating. But then I went to Detroit, which was a Burkhardt Abrams station, and Dwight followed my career. And Dwight's the guy who came to my rescue and got me the job in Washington. He said, hey, there's a great opening at DC 101 in Washington, where I met Robin, and we went on to huge success.
Detroit was crappy ratings when you got there?
Yeah, crappy ratings when I got there and when I left there. They were a Burkhardt Abrams station, too, but they were the fourth rock station in the market. It was just shit. The whole thing was shit. But here's the thing with Dwight. Dwight got me, you know what I mean, early on. Like, when everyone else was dicking me around, I could call Dwight, and I'd say, Dwight, I just feel awful, like they want me to do this. And he goes, oh, they don't fucking know what they're talking about. They don't understand what you're doing. Just, carry on. He was like a good dude, just a supportive voice in the sea of idiots on the radio or in radio management.
Well, you did not get a lot of support at that point, right?
I got no support. I mean, the guy who owned the radio station in Hartford had to decide whether to give me a raise. I mean, I got some support. There were believers, but, Dwight was an early one. And Dwight actually had some power and had an ability to put me at radio stations and stuff. So I haven't seen Dwight in like 100 years. And so I went out to dinner with him last night. And I did fist bump him when I walked in. And we hugged and stuff. And I was like really happy to see him. But then we were like finishing dinner. And all of a sudden, there's this guy looming around the table, and I was doing my best to ignore him because I was like, I'm talking to this guy, Dwight. I have limited time. And this guy is looming around the table, and it's like kind of creeping me out. So I'm like, I see him, but I'm ignoring him. And then all of a sudden, the guy leans in. He goes, Howard, hi, and he puts his hand out. I look up, it's Al Roker. Yeah, I didn't realize because he was wearing like a winter coat and he had a ski cap on. And I was like, he looked like he was homeless.
So do you shake his hand?
Yeah, so I wasn't even thinking, so I shook his hand and I went, First of all, he's stupid to shake my hand. I'm the guy getting over being sick. And then Dwight decided to shake my hand too because like now I was shaking Al Roker's hand. So now I was shaking everybody's hand. And so my New Year's resolution is already broken.